Fest is back. The two-day rock and roll party leading up to the original Kiss cruise will be on October 27th and 28th in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California. Proudly brought to you by Kiss Rum, Kiss Cold Gin, and Yamaha. Day one festivities will be a Bon Voyage party held at the Host Hotel, the Doubletree in San Pedro, hosted by the one and only DJ Noise. Party with your fellow cruisers while Noise spins the tunes and mingle with our special musical guests. Then stay for the Cruise Fest Komedy, Punchlines and Backlines comedy show produced and hosted by Courtney Cronin Dold. Featuring one of Hollywood's funniest rock and roll comedians, plus a Kiss Army fan favorite headliner and a special guest rock star doing their first stand-up comedy set. Day 2 features a 5-band live show at the historic Yost Theater featuring tribute bands Fair Warning and Dress to Kill, along with the Iron Maidens and headliners Slaughter. Plus, a special performance by the original members of Fraley's Comet, Todd Howarth, John Regan, and world-renowned drummer Anton Fig. All this, plus charity raffles generously sponsored by Sixth Man. Don't miss this exciting event. Start your rock and roll vacation off at the only party in town, Cruise Fest. That's Cruise Fest with a K.
My friends, and welcome to episode 77 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. This is the third episode of a series of Cruise Fest specials, and we are your hosts. I'm Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
So on this episode, we once again have two special guests. First, Bobby Dreher, the official photographer of Cruise Fest. He is the host of Harem, the co-host of The Kiss Room with Matt Porter, and one of the core four on the Metal Summit.
Our second guest, Courtney Cronin Dold, will be featured on night one of Cruise Fest with the Punchlines and Backline Music and Comedy Unite, Cruise Fest Comedy Show. So if it's not obvious already, Cruise Fest is definitely an event not to be missed.
Absolutely. First, let's welcome a man with a passion for photography. A man with 5 solo albums and numerous recordings and live performances under his belt. A man who has 40 plus years of experience playing guitar and studying music. Let's welcome the man himself, Bobby Dreher. Welcome to the show, my friend.
And we didn't put on there, and a man who's broke from buying all this crap over the years.
My God, aren't we all? That defines a Kiss fan.
We all.
Oh my God!
Lovely. Nice to have you, Bobby. Nice to see you. Hey,
great! Thank you guys for having me on. You know, this is wonderful. Look, I'm ecstatic. I can't wait. We have 40 days left or whatever before and I'm not a big boat person, so if I get sick, it's not because I drank too much.
You keep saying that. You just keep saying that.
Bobby, first, we would like to welcome you to the Cruise Fest team. So it's a fantastic news that you're going to be the photographer. So tell us about your passion for photography. How did that come about?
When I was 12 years old, the funny thing is, I remember it, I was going through a bunch of things right now. 5th grade, my mom gave me her old Brownie Hawk Kodak Brownie Hawkeye camera that you had to put film in and everything. It was a little box camera, and I would walk around and take pictures of my friends. You know, we'd be jumping garbage cans and everything else and, you know, doing that. And then years went by, it was the disposable cameras and taking them into concerts and shooting things. I was never really good, didn't know what the hell I was doing. Through the 90s, I traveled all over Europe, was Israel, Russia, everywhere. I bought a camera, and I always loved documenting where I was, because I thought it was the neatest thing to show people that I know that might not have the opportunity to go, oh, wow. And I'm going, hey, look at this. And I wouldn't just I love taking pictures of everyday people, scenery, this and that, and really just bringing it to life. Now, doing what I do today, the reason why I do it is, one, because of a gentleman named Mr. Mark Weiss, who we all know and love. But it was all those posters we had on our wall. The big 6-foot Kiss poster, Elton, you know, the Stones, Elton on Pinball Wizard, and, you know, those larger than life pictures. But, you know, you don't realize the guy behind the camera who took them, you know, whether it was Mark Weiss or Robert Knight or, you know, whoever at that time was taking them. And it's going, wow, they're photos that just really captured things. Yeah. And the wonderful thing is, look, it's not like today we have YouTube and this and that where we can see a snippet of a concert. We had to look at a Cream magazine or a Hit Parader or Rip or whatever, and we could almost hear the music coming out of it. So that's one thing that always, you know, drew that end of me. And I really love being able to share that, because I try to make my photographs, and after working and interning with Mark, that to come to life, where somebody goes, yeah, you look at Steven Tyler and you go, you know what he's doing, and it's going, exactly. You can almost hear Steven in your head. Yeah. Or when you see a great picture of Twisted Sister or Kiss or whatever, and it's Len DeLessio is one, to me, is another one, an iconic photographer that I look at his photos, and you look at the first Kiss Alive album, you can hear that album before you put the needle on. Yeah, and that's what blows my mind.
Hey, Bobby, let me ask you something. So you mentioned Mark Weiss already like 3, 4, 5 times. I know that he's your favorite photographer. So why does he hold such a special place in your heart?
You know, I just turned 58 in July. The great thing about Mark shot the decade that I lived. And not even just, I want to say the heroes, but a lot of these people growing up in the Philadelphia area were my peers. Look, I grew up with Heaven's Edge. I grew up with Brittany Fox. I grew up with the guys in Cinderella. You know, I remember seeing Bon Jovi record the In and Out of Love video on the bathroom at Seaside Heights, New Jersey. You know, and I look at those pictures, it's almost a yearbook to me. And a lot of us never lived on the Sunset Strip, you know, being, whether it was Canada, the East Coast, Midwest, we didn't know what LA looked like. And Mark gave us that. And it's amazing to see how he's revered in the community. I just spent 5 days with him down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, interning with him. Monsters on the Mountain, with a lot of the 80s bands, everybody from Kicks to Vixen to Night Ranger, Queensryche, and just how much they talk about, oh my God, you shot my Dangerous Toys, you shot the back of the album cover. I didn't know what and I'm going, wow. And I asked him, I said, where'd you get your training? He goes, I didn't. I cut grass to get a camera. I stuck it down my pants, snuck into here, started selling the pictures for $1 a piece. The bands wanted to bust me. And they said, look, if you're going to do that, we're going to hire you. And I'm going, wow. So that's really where it comes about with that. You know, I love that he was a rebel. And it was like, and we grew just like the music. They were the rebels. They were the ones who went out and made a name for themselves.
Right. Bobby, can you tell us some of the shows that you have shot?
Well, recently, probably the most iconic show, I'm extremely proud and thankful again. And I hate to keep saying his name, but I got to thank Mr. Mark Weiss for it. I just got back a week ago on September 8th. I shot Aerosmith, their 50th anniversary concert event, which was supposed to happen 2 years ago at Fenway Park. Sold out crowd of 30,000 people. Extreme opened up. I was one of 9 photographers. And here's a kid who I didn't even, funnier story about it is I went down with a smaller camera thinking, oh, I'm only going to shoot from my seat. Mark called me up and goes, well, you're here. Do you have a camera? I said, yeah, I might. He goes, that ain't going to cut it. 2 doors down from me at my hotel was a camera shop. So I bought a whole brand new rig for this event. And I'm like, my accountant's probably going to kill me. I'm going, oh, well, you just have one event. An amazing opportunity. But Aerosmith, I shot Lady Gaga a couple of weeks ago in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I shot the Jacksons, which was Tito, Marlon, and it was not Jackie Zeal. It was 3 of the brothers and a younger guy they brought in who sounded like Michael in like when he was 25 during like the bad period. I shot the Fifth Dimension a couple weeks ago. Iconic band from, the late 60s.
Oh my God.
I did the fireworks for the 50th anniversary for Disney World. Ted Nugent a couple weeks ago.
My God.
And me, I'm polar opposite of Ted, but he was, I'm mind blown away there. I've done festivals of M3 in Maryland. And it just
endless. Oh my goodness.
Endless. And it's just really came about. And I know I talked about Mark, but the one person I got to say who really, and I'm going on a 10-year anniversary of meeting him, is a gentleman, and we know and love, and everybody else does. And that would be our own Mr. Matt Porter. I met Matt in 2013 when I left a 4-year institution to go back to a 2-year college. Walked in, this guy had a KISS poster on his wall where they were supposed to play Montgomery County Community College in 1974. And I just went in and go, dude, you're a KISS fan? And he goes, yeah, I do a KISS radio show. And that was it. Everything from meeting Matt stemmed into meeting Pasquale to meeting Chris Zinza, everything. KISS is like the 6th degree of separation of everything. And I got to figure, somewhere in the line, there's a Kevin Bacon.
Lovely.
Now, speaking of Matt Porter, I think Matt has like the coolest voice and is the coolest person on KISS radio and podcasting. I just love that guy. And Bobby, I love the interaction you and Matt have on the KISS Room. So what's it like working with Matt and being on the KISS Room?
The thing about Matt, one word really to describe, genuine. Yeah. What you see with Matt Porter is what you get. You talked about his voice. That's what Matt is. He's like that, good glass of scotch that you drink and go, yeah, it's Matt Porter. It's nice.
That's a good Matt Porter.
It's like, but he's been doing the KISS Room for how long now?
10
how
years.
long has he been a KISS? I mean, things he's done. I took him to the show in Allentown when they played, and we'll talk about this wonderful jacket back here back then. That's got a story there. And when you're around somebody who's that excited, it only brings it out of you. I wanted him to go on the cruise so bad. And we all know Matt has 2 daughters with disabilities, has a lot of, and I said, dude, I will cover the nut for you. I want you there. It's the last one. I told us what I said. I don't care. Nothing. I want. Could you picture Porter on that cruise?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
To me, that would be. I'm like, everybody wanted Vinny. I'm like, no, I wanted Matt.
Imagine. I agree.
I mean, that to me right there would have been. I mean, just to watch his head blow off, but but it was. Yeah, there's a lot of great Kiss podcasts and everything, and I just love listening to all of them. But when I seen Matt and walked in there, and I'm going, wow. Okay, I guess I'm not the only geek at my age who's still really that, And I love that there are people like yourselves that get like this, that when we all get together, it's, why do we feel like 14-year-olds sitting in the room looking at, our liner notes and this, and, and we all talk about, we all watch Detroit Rock City and go, oh yeah, we live that.
Yeah. True. But that's the secret to being a Kiss fan, and the secret to Kiss. It makes us feel like we're children again, and that innocence and that love and passion for this band and everything around it. I don't think any other band gives that to their fans.
I don't even think they knew the magnitude of what they created. Now, again, we all went through our little lull. And whatever period it was of everything, whether it was the makeup coming off or, the Unmasked era when they were doing the albums and, but everybody went through that period where they put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it started shifting. And I remember 96 when that concert on MTV, and then that spark just went back again. And I'm just going, wow. How many bands can say that they hit every decade and blew up that big? I remember when Lick It Up came out. Sure, it was a different era, but that album was a huge change right there. I mean, incredible. And to keep doing what you're doing, to get a residency and everything. Look, I don't know what it's like to be 70-something years old
and keep doing it. Yeah, the way they do it.
Can't imagine. So Bobby, speaking of podcasts, what about your own show? Tell us about that, Harem.
Harem came about because, again, me being so the logo is a rabbit. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, okay, Matt and I were kicking an idea around. I did 3 years of co-hosting with he on the Kiss Room. I said, well, I'd like to do something. And I said, okay, but what I want to do is I wanted to be that opening type band or that music you would hear before Kiss came on. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be all that. And the parking lot. And I wanted it to be the party before you went into the show. Right. So that's what Harem came about. And that's why we bookended it like that. And that's why everything that I do on there, I never really, I always loved when Kiss brought everybody in, whether it was Van Halen, whether, oh gosh, man, think about half the AC/DC, everything, it was always a party. Before you went, the party started. Party started in the time you got in the car to get there and everything. So that's what we wanted to do. And I told Matt, I said, look, I don't want you just to be a co-host. You're a major contributor as well, but I don't want it to compete with the Kiss Room. So I really wanted it to be, Harem came about as 80s based, but I even go out more a little bit further than that. I go, bands that are from the late 70s that are influenced into the 80s, and then some of the newer bands that I just, been spotlighting that I met down at Monsters on the Mountain. Mm-hmm. Bad Marriage from Boston, which to me is incredible. They're that new extreme Aerosmithy, gutsy rock and roll, no grit Cinderella. Then you got Cody Parks and the Dirty South that I heard down there, which is Johnny Cash. Sounds like Pantera had a baby, and you stick them together. And it's that kind of band that you could picture opening up for Kiss.
Right.
So I kind of wanted that. And I would bring different people in. I brought David Fishoff on, who started the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp and everything. And that's how I met Bruce Kulick.
Oh,
In 2007, the first time I did that, I was in Bruce's camp.
Mhm.
And his brother Bob hung out with us for a week in LA. And I'm like, oh my God. And then Paul was hanging. I'm going, and then Eric came in and I'm going, okay, I could die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, getting back to harem. So that's kind of what I want to be. I want to be, I don't want to be the grandfather rock and roll, but I want to kind of be, okay, how are these new bands
right.
sounding like this? Look, you guys are from different areas, for yourself.
Mhm.
Things change, music, cultures, everything. What we did in the 70s and 80s aren't the same thing as 2000.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. And what can you tell us about the Metal Summit?
Well, the great thing about that started, the first one started March 3rd, 2020. It was started with an idea from a gentleman down in the DC area who, again, goes back to Mr. Matt Porter. I met through Matt, Max Hash. And Max is another one, huge Kiss fan, mega Kiss fan. He was just with Peter Criss this weekend in Atlantic City. Max is from Argentina and just great guy. And then he called me up probably maybe 2 weeks prior to that and goes, hey, I'm thinking about putting the show together. Pandemic, we really didn't know what this pandemic thing was. And we're going to do a streaming thing. And it was kind of crazy. When it started off, we started really slow. He goes, well, we don't want it to be, we're 4 different people. We all live in 4 different areas. It's back then it was Max Ash, Jay Oakley, Steve Pressett, Angel Almost. And there was another guy on with us, but he lasted 1 week and said, I don't want to do this. Right before the first show happened, March 1st, I lost my mom. March 2nd, I wound up in the hospital. I had a perforated ulcer and my stomach exploded and I was bleeding internally. Okay. So I couldn't do the first show. Next show, I did it from the hospital, but but we've been going strong now. We're 170 episodes in. Every Wednesday night, 9 to 10:30. We've had everybody on the show. We're an interview-based show. Everybody musically, new artists from Bad Marriage we had on. We had Desmond Child on. We've had Sandy Gennaro, Mark Hudson, Hal Sparks, Penelope Spheris. Geez, I mean, oh my God, the list is James Durbin, Karabi, you name it. I think we've had so many different genres of people on the band, which is great because Jay Oakley's a big horror guy. That's Jay's thing. And I always make the joke, Jay sleeps upside down, hanging like a bat, but that's his. Steve, he used to work for the metal station on Sirius XM, did a bunch of radio things. Angel does for Ballbuster Records, music, does interviews. We all bring something different to the table, and it really came together. So that's really Jay, Angel, Steve, and myself now for getting ready to go in 3 years, 2.5 years. We're the core 4. All have different personalities. We're kind of like I kind of call it the Metal Monkeys.
Hey, Bobby, let me get a bit deeper on knowing more about you. So, what are some of your musical inspirations?
Well, it's funny. I started in music in 7th grade You know, you had to pick an instrument in 7th grade. My dad was in the big bands. What do I pick? The trombone.
Okay.
Furthest thing from a guitar you would ever, but it was just something cool about Benny Goodman and hearing big band music, I don't know, it was something about a trombone, but I didn't get a guitar till I was like 12. I loved brass instruments. I just thought they just sounded cool.
The sound.
Was anything, saxophones, all that stuff, it just sounded amazing. And I really think a lot of it was note choice. And I found out the older I got, a lot of guitarists gravitate to sax or horn instruments just because of the line. Charlie Parker, you know, Miles Davis. I mean, it's just no choices in the way the lines are wrote. I mean, you can hear it through Jeff Beck and everything else. But really, my first taste on the guitar was, you know, my parents were in a lot of country western, and growing up, I watched a lot of Hee Haw, and I think it was Buck Owens and those guys, and watching these guys, you know, the Nashville players, and I'm going, wow, whoa. I wasn't a big Elvis fan, but his guitar player blew my doors off. I mean, you can hear the lines. My parents grew up listening to a lot of 60s music. So I grew up listening to the Mamas and Papas, Beach Boys, all the things back there, Beatles, oh my gosh, you know, Archie's cutting records off the back of cereal boxes, and not knowing that these were session guys playing this stuff. And then when I think the first really guitar player I see was Elton's guitar player, Davy Johnstone. And I heard Bitches Back and Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, and hearing that and going, wow. I mean, I loved Elton for Crocodile Rock, but when he did stuff like that, and it was just like, you know, here you go. Then Frampton came out. And then I remember being in 7th grade, and my music teacher brought in this album with 5 diamonds on the front of it. And I sat there and he dropped it. He goes, my son's album. It came out on March 13th. It was Aerosmith Rocks. And I heard, soon as he put Back in the Saddle on, my head just went, bam, that riff. And it was, I'm like, oh my God. Wow. Then you got to hear that period, Boston, and growing up in the 70s, and it was all rock based. Grand Funk, Frampton Comes Alive. Gosh, God, I probably have everybody's guitar over there too. You know? Jeff Beck. Look at us growing up, you know, hearing Journey, and again, you know, we talk about Ted Nugent, who did Strangle. You know, you hear these solos. The Canadian bands. God, I remember when I first heard Rush.
Yeah.
Triumph, Rick Emmett, love Rick. Rick to me was God for years. I mean, I gravitated to that, and Randy Rhoads, Eddie. I remember when I heard a friend of mine when the first Van Halen album at Christmas, and he put it on, I'm going, what the hell is that?
What is that? Yeah. Amazing.
And your mind just goes. Then the 80s came around. And that's all I wanted to do was eat, drink, sleep, fart, whatever, guitar, anything. And everybody was playing that. And growing up in this area, in the Philadelphia area, I lived maybe 10 miles away from, which is Hoshino, which is Ibanez and Tama. I remember seeing Joe Satriani when he had hair, when he would come in there, and Joe would come in, and Vi, and watching, you know, Gimbali and all the shredders back then, Paul Gilbert, and just going, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. And everybody just wanted to get faster and faster in this. And then all of a sudden it changed. This trashy band comes out in the middle of the 80s and throws a wrench in everything. Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go fast. Here they are getting back to sleazy, slimy, Aerosmithy, gritty, dirty rock and roll. Then it goes from that to Faster Pussycat. And, you know, you kind of seen the changes where a lot of things come around. I stopped playing guitar, and it's funny because a friend of mine is the keyboard player of the band, Rami Jeffy, and I had the honors to talk to Dave Grohl at the Kennedy Honors, and I'm going, you know, you made me stop playing guitar in the 90s. I hated grunge. I just thought the soul went away. Not the soul, but I thought there was no melody. I mean, there were great songwriters. I'll never discredit Chris Cornell or Alice in Chains or, you know, bands
Jam.
Yeah, but I felt like it got lost, and you know, the shows went away. Nothing. There was no spark. I feel like that was almost the era of. It was a sparkless era. There was nothing there that really. It was hard for the '80s bands. All of them, you know, the ones, you know, died up. So I put my guitar down and went into engineering. I went into traveling Europe, got into picking up a couple cameras, shooting, going to Israel. The day I left for Israel was the day the trade centers got hit in March of '93, the first time. 98, big change. I moved from Pennsylvania and I went down to Washington, D.C. to work with Vice President Al Gore.
Oh, wow.
I did not pick a guitar back up till we took the campaign office and we moved it from K Street in Washington to Nashville, Tennessee. Well, I'm in Tennessee. I'm definitely not the most political savvy guy. And I'm down with all these interns and that. And I'm in Nashville and I'm going, I could give basically a rat's butt about what I was doing down there. But I learned a lot. I was a driver. The gentleman running the campaign was Tony Coelho, was the author of the Americans with Disability Act. Tony's my partner, been together 25 years, but Tony was running it, met through this whole thing. Tony couldn't drive because he has epilepsy. So I was his driver. I was his driver down to Brazil, and I would do whatever. I was kind of like Gopher on the Love Boat. That was Bobby. I'm down there. I started walking around Broad Street, and Broad Street back then is not Broad Street like it is today down in Nashville, where it's all pedal bikes and things. It was music stores. It was music stores. It was this. And I went into a place, Gruen's. I bought a 1977 Les Paul, a little Marshall amp, and I figured I'm going to get back into playing. I'm down here. There's music all around, and you know, I just got it and started getting back into it and going to hear music, and didn't put it down ever since.
So, Bobby, I want to talk a little bit about Kruise Fest, because you were saying that you know, you were happy that you picked up the guitar again. But we're equally happy that you picked up the camera, because now you're the photographer at Kruise Fest. So how did that come about?
So when Joe said he was doing this, I said, hey, I'd like to come down and I'll do it pro bono. Look, I'm paying for the fest. I paid the VIP. I'm like, dude, but I don't know if you have anybody, but hey, man, I'm all in. What the heck, right? And I know how much I like getting these photos, and I love sharing them. And I like, you know, people go, oh, do you do it for the, look, some people do it to say, oh, this is who I'm with. But I think most of us who get a picture with the band share it because we're passionate. We love who we're with. And I just wanted to do it to give back. I know how I am. And I feel like, look, people like Joe, Chris, Matt, you guys doing this, anybody who's doing to keep the legacy of Kiss alive, I'm
in.
It's kind of a give, whatever.
Right.
You do this, not for a monetary thing. I'm not doing it for a monetary thing. You know, I'm doing it because, hey, this is cool. Every band that's down there.
Cool. That's right.
Let's go have fun. Let's make it family.
Yeah.
You know how when you were at your family event, somebody always had a camera and okay, gather around, let's get a picture. That's what I want to do. Okay, family, come on, let's go. Yeah. So I think it's going to be cool. How's it going to? I'm like, let's go have fun.
Hey, Bobby, let me just go back a bit to Kruise Fest, and for Kiss fans, all these Kiss events like the Kiss Cruise and Kruise Fest, it means different things to each one of us. So what do these two events mean to you?
It all goes back to really one word: family.
Family,
okay. and really it is. I didn't appreciate Kiss as much till I met somebody, and it goes back to Matt Porter.
Okay.
So I walked into that office 10 years ago and I kept going, oh my God, there's another person and he's more passionate, of this band. And then when I, through the Kiss room, just meeting, oh my God, it's kind of like all these cousins that you never met. And you kept going, wow. And the interconnections and like Pasquale, I mean, everybody goes certain place. Oh, this one. And you look at their Facebook page. Oh, well, they know 80 people here. And it's just,
it's true. It's true.
I just think it's amazing. I never would have met Keith LaRue again if it wasn't for Matt. I sat took my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law years ago to one of the shows in Philadelphia. I think it was, God, it had to be early 2000s. Sitting next to me, front row, Doc McGee. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm just like going, well, this is kind of, and it's just that I got to meet all the original members. Now, I mean, it's the thing that I got older. What's this going to mean? I'm going to love hearing the stories. Again, it goes back. It sounds like a family reunion. That's really what both of these are going to be. I hope there's not a lot of drama or not a lot of naysayers or this or that. I don't want to see anybody fighting with anybody. I'm going, really, this is the last thing. Put your politics, religious crap, or anything that's going to be a deterrent away for the 7 days. It doesn't need to be talked about or whatever. That was one thing that I always loved about a Kiss concert or a Kiss album. I never heard the political rhetoric. It wasn't like going to certain concerts, whether one extreme or the other, that you heard this one or that one. I'm going, I don't want that. I'm not going on this cruise for that reason. There's other places for that. I don't want to go there. I really want to go there just to be not just the photographer for this, but really I want to be, hey, I'm basically part of your family who's taking
the
family picture. That's
part of the family. So what would you say to someone who's on the fence about going to Kruise Fest?
If you're a fan and you have the opportunity and the resources and you're passionate about it and you feel like, and you're on the fence, I think it's that thing that I would go. I would rather go than regret, because people keep saying, oh, well, what if they do what Motley Crue just did and this and that? I'm going, you know what? Somebody made a joke one time. They said, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all be happy at Christmas. But, you're never going to know. I don't really care. If I go and they go, oh, we're going to do more. Look, I know I went on the one that said it was going to be it. And I know I'm going to be there with friends. So I think if you go and you're sitting on the fence, but you have the resources, and I know times are tough right now, I would go. I wouldn't put it behind you. This is going to be an experience of a lifetime. I don't think you're going to regret any moment of it at
Nothing,
all.
nothing.
I think, and thank God there are people like Joe, Chris Zach, you guys doing this. None of us do this for fame or
For the
whatever.
money.
Yeah.
Well, that's as you said before, it's the party before the party, and a great lineup. Day one, day two, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be lovely to have you there, Bobby. Can't wait to meet you.
Oh my God,
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so much fun.
How we're gonna all stop. I think the hardest thing is for us to do the whole trip is to stop smiling.
That's right.
How are you
Exactly.
guys, I think everybody goes, "Oh, I'm going to be so tired." I said, "No, I think this part of me." Oh my God! And I think when it's over, I probably won't cry. Like I don't even want to think about the career. I'm like going, "Okay, let's just."
That's right.
No, but this might be the last time we're going to see each other again in one place. So the end of the Kiss Cruise.
Okay, let's be honest. I'm going to say this now, and Matt and I bring it up all the time. Really? You don't think there'll be convention? Look, as long as we have a dime in our pocket, we're going to go sign. If it says the Kiss ice cream stand and bowling alley, we're all going to be going there.
I agree. But nothing like the Kiss Cruise. Kiss Cruise for me is the penultimate experience of Kiss Cruise.
I know, but there's going to be. I'm telling you, down the road, there's going to be somebody. Whether it's Evan Stanley years down the road you're going to see, it's going to be Pollywood or whatever.
Yeah.
There's going to be, somebody's going to make a park that looks like Kiss meets the Phantom or something. That's because there's too many of us not to keep this legacy going.
Oh, absolutely.
It's true.
I agree with you there. Absolutely.
Look, it's like Santa Claus. He ain't
cannot
going
die.
away.
Yeah.
They're not. Kiss is not your typical band. Kiss Army are not your typical fans. That's all I'm going to say right there, and I'll end it on that note.
There you go.
That's the perfect way to end it. And I want to second what Claudio said. Thank you so much for being on the show, and for giving us a bit of your passion and your experiences. It was just incredible to hear. And Kruise Fest is really lucky to have you as a photographer, and I think your passion is going to come out in your pictures. And we're going to be enjoying Kruise Fest and the Kiss Cruise from your pictures for years to come. So once again, my friend, thank you so much for being on the show.
I really love this. This was awesome.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you so much. It's been great. Our next guest needs no introduction. Creator and producer of Punchlines and Backlines Music and Comedy Unite. Comedy writer, television producer, and stand-up comic, and also a writer for a long list of comedians, celebrities, and musicians. Kiss Army, we are so excited and honored to welcome Courtney Cronin Dold to our show. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you so much. I love the way you say my name. It's so sexy.
Oh, really? Oh.
Claudio, man, I can't compete with your accent. Everybody says that.
I know. It's so fluid and beautiful. And my husband's German, so he's like, Courtney! It's not quite the same.
Oh, that's a good start. I love it. Thank you.
So, Courtney, as we mentioned in the introduction, you're the creator and producer of Punchline and Backlines. Can you tell us a little bit about that unique concept?
Sure. So what the concept is it's a rock-based comedy show with real comedians. And then we have one rock star doing comedy for the very first time. And it's somebody that, is already a funny person. I've been doing the show with Izzy Presley. We started it here in Hollywood at the Grafton Hotel. They have a bar with like a stage in there. And we started it there in 2019. And then now the show has been moving on to like the Rock and Pod Festival, and we just did the Monsters of Rock cruise, and we did Creatures Fest. Now we're doing Cruise Fest, and we're doing Rock Island in January. Like we're getting that organized right now. So we're starting to move it around to different music venues because music fans seem to be the best crowd for this type of show. It doesn't really work in a comedy club. It could, depending on who the guest is, but the way the show usually works is my producing partner Izzy Presley. He usually hosts and then brings me up, and then I do material a little bit about the person, not like a roast at all, but like from a fan's perspective.
Okay.
And then I'll introduce them, and we've spent the last few weeks, which the audience doesn't know, really, really working on their act. They're not just like throwing it together and getting up there, like actual thought and process and rehearsing and discussions have gone into this. So some people, you know, like to really work hard on it and work a lot. Like Kip Winger did our show on Monsters of Rock Cruise, and he's a perfectionist. I mean, he writes symphonies. So he's like, he's very thorough. So we worked a lot on his, like he wanted to go over stuff a lot. We made changes, punch ups, you know, that's what I want is, you know, people to, if they need it, you know, we're there for them. I'm there for them, like, you know, whatever they need. And we take all the jokes and stories and base it on their real life. It's not like they're getting up and going, what's the deal with orange juice? How come some has pulp and some has no pulp? What is some pulp anyway? Like, it's not, it's all like, here's where I started. Here's some stories from the road. People make fun of this song. Here's something that happened to me on the MTV Awards. Like, whatever, like any crazy fun story, or even just playing on the stereotype of the band. Like when we had Chad Stewart from Faster Pussycat, we did a whole bunch of we're so wasted on this ship, we don't know what's going on jokes. Like, you know, we've done 10 Monsters of Rock cruises and we don't remember any of them. Like, you know, we did stuff like that. So it's kind of giving away a little bit to the audience, like how it works behind the scenes, because what it looks like is the musicians walked up there and wrote all their own stuff that morning, and they're telling the jokes right now. And that's the way it looks, which is great. Because we didn't really tell anybody how we were doing it until just recently.
Okay.
So,
It must be difficult for the musicians to go from like being a musician to being stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, and some people are really terrified of it. Like I've asked like a few people multiple times who I know are funny people because I know them personally, and they're just like, I can't do it. I don't want to do it, you know. And it is scary. And I think the hardest part about comedy, I think, is likability. And if you don't have that, you're dead. And I think the musicians that we've worked with are all people that we're fans of. So they instantly have likability because we've seen them perform as musicians at their regular job, you know, and offstage, they're good people. So those are the people we ask to do the show. We're not just like casting this wide net. We're going to a very specific group of people that we ask, you know, very special, because a lot of work goes into it, and they have to do a lot of work, you know. So so that's who we ask. And the other thing that's scary with comedy is having confidence, and they've got confidence. They're rock stars. They're successful musicians. They've got the confidence. So once you get those two things out of the way, which I think are the hardest, delivering a joke, I say, would be the third. And that's where I come in, and that's where my team comes in, like whoever is working with me, whether it's Don Jameson or Craig Gass, like, you know, helping out with the jokes, you know, and Izzy Presley. You know, we kind of get together, and, you know, I don't want to give away too much of how it works, but there's a way we make sure that it's in their voice, because that's what I do for a living, is I write for other people in their voice. And which is why I have no jokes left for myself, but I have to make sure that it's their voice, you know, and sounds like them. Like this person would, you know, sometimes someone will send in a joke. I'm like, he's not going to say this, you guys.
Of course. Yeah.
Never going to say this, you know, so we got to change it. You know, like when we did Todd Kearns, I'm like, Todd, I tell him this to his face. I'm like, he looks like a sexy rock star, but talks like one of the Golden Girls. And he's just got this really fun, like silly way of the way he chats. And it's just super likable and fun. And that's the way the act had to be. It had to be like the first time I met Todd, I was like, you are my favorite singer. It's the first thing I said to him when he goes, oh, start. And
nice.
And that just gives you like a little insight. And everyone already knows what a nice guy he is, but like as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay. And then my wheels turn, and I'm like, what would that guy say? You know, the guy who
yeah.
talks to everybody who comes up to him and wants to talk to him,
Mhm.
you know, and be like, I can't believe you guys did thou shalt not, and wants to talk about it 55 times. Like that guy who will talk to you the 55 times, you know, like
Exactly.
what's that guy gonna say? So like you kind of have to get in there and really like talk like the person. So it's kind of fun reading their jokes back to them when I go, don't, sorry, no offense, but I'm going to talk like you to you.
That must be a fun interaction between you and the musician when you do that.
It is. At first they're a little bit like, is she going to make fun of me? And I'm like,
Right.
no, this is how you know it's you. Like how you know it's going to sound like you. So
Right. I think it's amazing that you bring in Punchline to Cruise Fest. It's going to be part of the Bon Voyage party, and what a great start to 2 days of amazing music and comedy and fun with the fans. You know, thank you so much for doing this. It's going to be incredible.
it's going to be so fun. I just went to the venue yesterday, and it is so beautiful. It's right in the marina, like right there.
Yeah.
And the breeze, the ocean breeze coming off the harbor right there in the marina. And this is like the pretty side of the marina because I live here.
Mhm.
And like I don't live very far from there. And there's like the pretty side of the marina, and then there's like, you know, the industrial side, which is awesome. But like this is like the really pretty side with the cliff views, and I mean it's gorgeous. So yeah, nice place.
Nice. And you're bringing Hal Sparks and that other guy, Craig Gass.
That other guy
The
that
other
I've been
guy.
friends with for 20 years, whoever he is.
Exactly. What can you tell us about Hal, first of all?
Oh, well, Hal's like one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I say that honestly, he's just like so intelligent. I don't mean to say and he's also, what a lot of people don't know about him is he is a massive Kiss fan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
like
is he?
humongous.
Okay. Wow.
And I think that that's going to be fun for the audience because you know, as far as Kiss comedy goes, this particular crowd's only seen a handful of us that have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably myself, Craig,
Yeah.
Earl Skakel, who did the second Rockin' Pod with us, you know, and then I mean, really, like no one else really comes in and does like a bunch of jokes about Kiss that only this crowd's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like none of these jokes are going to work in a regular stand-up club.
Of course.
Right.
Not really. And so, which makes it even more fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so I think Hal has just got this arsenal of stuff that's like ready to go. I mean, he's had it for his whole life. He has great Kiss stories, and you know, about meeting Paul Stanley, I think at the dentist, I think he like met him. And I think he tells a story about how Paul like said it like, oh, hey, Hal. And all he could think was Paul knew my name. Like, you know, like, and just the way he goes into the music and how he gets really deep into it. Like he totally geeks out, but his POV is really interesting. It's different than anything I've heard from some of the other fans, or definitely from Craig and myself. He's totally different. So I think the fans are in for a really special treat with Hal and what he's bringing.
It's gonna be a blast.
Oh, for
That's
sure. So also being friends and working with Craig must be a gas. So what's it like working with him? I know everybody must have said that. I know. It's
no, actually, no one said that to me ever.
Hey, there you go. Kidding. First time on a Kiss Army Nation podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Kiss Army Nation. So yeah, so that'll make up for my long, drawn out, boring behind the scenes answers about the show. I'm like, and then we make notes, and then we read the notes, and like, who cares? But anyway, Craig and I have been friends for 20 years. It's funny, we met because of Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually how we became friends, because I was working on the Wayne Brady show at the time, and I used to write the songs for Wayne. That was like one of my first jobs, and that was the best show ever. I wish that ran forever. It was so much fun. And a guy I shared the office with got fired, and totally wanted to be fired. He'd had it. He wanted to go. And he was working on something with the guy from Family Jewels. So I get a call from him, and he's like, hey, you like Kiss, you're a big rock fan. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I'm trying to write some jokes for the Gene Simmons roast. I'm like, they're roasting Gene Simmons? What? And I'm like, who's in it? And he starts telling me. And at the time I used to open for Ralphie May, and Ralphie was in it. And they needed some jokes. And so I was like, okay. So I started like throwing around some jokes. And then I'm like, well, how come Craig Gass isn't in this? Like, I couldn't believe Craig wasn't on it. And they just didn't know him. And they're like, they were still like booking it. These are the producers who were putting it together. Like it was months away from airing or from being shown, whatever, taped. So I was like, well, he does the Gene Simmons impression, and it's like the greatest thing ever. And you didn't hear about the thing on Howard Stern with Gene? You guys should know this. You guys are doing Gene's thing. So I gave him a hard time about it, and I said, well, you better call him because you're going to need him. And they totally did. Mm-hmm. He totally killed that roast. He was great. So I called him up and I'm like, hey, these guys are going to call you. And we had just met a few times. We have a mutual friend, but like we hit it off right away. We just became friends right away. I think that's just how it is in comedy. You kind of know who your people are.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You just know. Yeah. And so Craig and I were like, you're my people, like right away. And they hired him obviously immediately, and it went great. And ever since, we've been friends ever since. I mean, we were friendly before, but that kind of put us on the map as like working together, because it was the first time I wrote stuff with him.
Even deeper now. Awesome. Courtney, let's talk a little bit about you. So how did you get into comedy, and who were and still are your main inspirations?
Well, I got into comedy because I was a goofy kid, and and I always loved comedy. I just, like, when I go to sleepovers, I wanted to rent comedy special videos and not like movies.
Okay.
I wanted to watch people's comedy specials. So, and I got very early, like, into memorizing people's specials, especially Rosie O'Donnell was probably my favorite. I'd say Rosie and Carol Leifer I really liked, and a comedian named Dana Gould, who was a writer for The Simpsons forever. And he had 2 HBO specials. His first one is like a classic. Mm-hmm. And after seeing that, I was like, I want to do this. Like,
this is me. That's right.
This is me. And it's funny because I don't think I was a very good writer in the first few years of stand-up, which is all I do now is write, far more than I perform. I'd say it's like 75% writing, 25% performing. But after a while of doing stand-up, I realized that I got more excitement of watching somebody else tell a joke that I wrote and get laughs.
Okay.
It was like the greatest feeling, because people ask me that a lot. They're like, how do you work and write? And because it takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how do you do all that and then just give it away? I'm like, because it's my job. It's my job. It's how I get paid. And I take pride in it. I take so much pride in handing something over to someone. There's like no greater feeling, like watching someone, even like my client, sorry, it's actually Joe D'Angelo texting me right now.
Kind of Joe for us.
Yeah, he's probably like, what are you doing? You're destroying this podcast. These guys are trying to have entertainment. You're so boring covering up your roots with half your screen down.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. But I mean, I've always kind of, I perform, but I'd rather not. Like, I'd rather someone else do it and I'll be in the back, or I'll host. Like, I like that. I did the road for 15 years. I never wanted to be on camera. I hated it. It makes me nervous. It's weird. I really hate it. I was an actress. I've been on television. I've done stuff, but like, I don't like it.
So let me ask you about that. So I'm sure that you've mentioned that before, and it must be nerve-wracking, to be stand-up comedy. So do you remember your first time on stage as a stand-up comic, and how did that go?
Oh yes, I do. Unfortunately, I did well my first time, which was so deceiving because I sucked for the next 6 months, like royally. And then, like, weirdly, things happened to me too soon. Like I had a good set my first time, should not have happened. And then the next 10, 20 times, just horrible. I was terrible. And then all I did was write. And then I came to LA because I started in Boston, and I did a showcase at the Laugh Factory, and I did one open mic, and I got passed that night by the owner. I got brought up to the office and was told to host the rest of the night. They put me on the second show.
Oh,
I'd never hosted. No idea what I was doing.
Wow.
Got up, hosted the rest of the night, and then went in for a meeting a week later and signed with the management. And I ended up being like the house MC at the Laugh Factory for almost 5 years.
Oh my God.
And that's how I cut my teeth. But I was not ready. So I wish that had happened 3 years later, because then I would have been on this different path. But then again, maybe that was supposed to happen because it showed me you don't really want to be up there. You want to be back there, you know, with your notes, you know, and doing punch up and helping other people. It's weird. I see them better than I see myself. And I, you know, because I have clients that are, you know, I have one girl I've worked with for 5 years. She's a pop star and she's a comedian. She's a big presence on social media. And I see, you know, I have a video on MTV. I have a video on MTV. Like no one knows, but like I wrote a rap with her.
Oh, really?
And like, I'm so proud of that. Like, I'm like so excited about it. I'm like, I wrote a rap and it's cute. It's funny. And they put the video on MTV and I was like, oh my God. Or I'm sorry, I consulted for the video that was on MTV. Sorry, the rap was on something else. But anyway, whatever. So I get more excited about that than I would if it was like my special. I'd be a complete mess. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't even know what to do because I rewrite my act constantly based on what's happening at that time. And like every KISS event I've done 70% new material because I'm constantly changing it. I only keep some of the stuff, like just some of it.
Okay.
So, you know, you mentioned you enjoy writing for others more than you enjoy writing for yourself. And that it's interesting that you sort of, you do like a character analysis and then you do their comedy bit. But in a sense, shouldn't it be easier writing for yourself than writing for other people? Which one's easier for you and why?
I wish. It's so hard for me. The brain power, I get burnt.
Oh, yeah?
I work privately with people almost every day. And then, or I'm working on a project or a show, or I do a lot of development and write for TV. So there's all kinds of stuff coming across my brain and across my desk. And then when it's really time for me to sit and focus on me, I have to force myself. So like my husband will go, he'll notice that I'm not, you know, that I'm doing other things. And he'll be like, all right, I want to see 3 new jokes tonight in front of the TV. And I'm like, okay. You know, to get me to write for me. Because like on the cruise, I think on Monsters of Rock, I locked myself in my cabin for the first 2 days writing.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I need material about the ship. And I created a bit about all the bands. There were like 39, 40 bands or something. And I created like a bit with every name of all the bands. And I had to stay in my room for almost 2 whole days to do it, to come up with it, to write it, to perfect it, to clean it up, to practice it, to memorize it, to write it out. I went up into the space. I walked around the space, practiced it. And I remember the guy producing it was like, we didn't know what you were doing. And after the show, he's like, we were so relieved you actually had a good show because we thought you were crazy. We thought you were like crazy. And I was like, no, I had to memorize like 15 new minutes in 2 days. So, that's not really the wisest thing ever for a comedian to do, but in that particular situation, because that crowd was very, you know, like they're going to get every reference I'm making. I wouldn't do that at a comedy club for the week.
Of course. Yeah,
or just a regular cruise.
Different.
No way.
Right.
No. Yeah. But, and with KISS stuff, same thing. I wrote a bunch of stuff in my room at Creatures Fest that I brought on stage, you know, but I had stuff with me just in case, you know, I have an act, but the crowd responds very well to, you know, things that they can tell you spent time crafting for them specifically for this event.
Yeah.
It shows that you care.
Exactly. It makes it more, it makes it special, right? So it makes it like, you know, suited for that kind of people. That's right.
Right. So I do it for them. And then the same with like the other jokes. I do it. I think I've given some of my best jokes to John Jameson. I've actually been like, can I have this back? I want this one Black Sabbath joke back so badly, but then he did it on his special, and I was like, "Fuck, I wanted that one." But like, that is to me, that's like huge. Like, oh, Don did my jokes in his special. Like, there's no greater compliment than your client or your friend or whoever has hired you. You know, when they tell you, "Hey, this is going to be in my special," or "Hey, all these people came up and said they really liked this joke." So thank you for that joke.
Super.
It's like, good, you had a good night, and I'm glad I helped you.
Oh, that must be a great feeling right there.
It is.
Yeah.
It's great. Look, other comedians think I'm nuts. Most comedians don't want to give it away. They don't get it.
But also when they're doing what you wrote, in a sense, you see yourself in what they're doing as well. So you're up there on stage with them, in a sense.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I want them to succeed. Like that's what I tell the musicians that do my show. They're like Zach Throne at Kruise Fest, and Zach is a friend of mine. So I'm calling him, I'm texting him. I'm like, hey, when can we get together? Because what I do is a first meeting and we talk for like maybe 30 minutes, an hour. And I really come up with the majority of the set based on that conversation. And then whatever research I've done and what else I already know off the top of my head. So I kind of come in with ideas, but then we have a talk. And during that talk, I take notes.
Okay.
And then at the end of the talk, I'm like, how about this? How about this? And they're like, you just did. And I'm like, yeah, because that's how my brain works. I already was ready for the call. So I'm already like ready,
Right.
So Zach was so busy. He was doing Bruce's band and Ace's band and rehearsing with Corey Taylor. I mean, he was spread so thin. I couldn't even believe he was still going to do our show. I'm like, you don't have to do it. It's okay. And he's like, no, I want to do it. It'll be fun, So I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad. He was, I literally had to follow him around. I was just like following him around with my notes. Like, is he available? And Larry, his girlfriend's my friend. I'm like, Larry, she's like, hang on, let's see. He was so busy. I couldn't even get him. So he says, if I bomb, can I blame you? And I'm like, yeah. and he said, I can seriously blame you. And I go, yeah, because you're not going to bomb. I said, nobody's ever bombed. You're not going to bomb. He goes, all right, well, if I bomb, I'm going to blame you. I'm like, yep. I mean, he's kidding. But like I said, you absolutely can. So I finally get him. I'm like, Zach. And he's like, oh, I've got the set here on my phone. And he's like, I'm just going to go up and I'm like, and read it. I'm like, okay. I mean, he had no time to prepare. We prepared in the bus right before the show for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, you know what? Zach's an actor. He's a professional.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine, which
There
he
you
was.
go.
He was great. And he's like, I'm just going to read my phone. What I didn't know was that he was going to go up and go, by the way, if none of these jokes work, it's Courtney's fault.
Good call.
Because the audience doesn't know that I have anything to do with their sets.
Right.
They don't know. They have no idea.
Nice.
So, yep, because I don't tell them. I mean, I think I mentioned, I couldn't help it when I introduced Kip Winger. I had to mention that we've been working on his set because it was just such a big deal for me. But like, I was telling my friends, I'm like, hang on, I got to go. Oh, Kip Winger's on the phone. Let me call you back.
Sure
Like,
enough.
I've been waiting since I was 17 to say that, actually, since I was 15. But I mean, yeah, that was like the only time I kind of let it slip. But they don't know. So afterwards, everyone's like, did you write that stuff? Did you write that stuff? I'm like, yes, but you guys aren't supposed to know.
Yeah.
It's supposed to look like they, and I'm like, Zach, but it ended up being part of his set and it was funny.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's what made it funny. So, obviously you worked with a long list of people and you must have some hilarious stories to tell. Any of them come to mind?
So the first show I ever worked on was called More Sports with Jay Moore. And it was like a nighttime, a late night sports talk show. And it was one of those shows where I've never felt that sort of family feeling really ever again, because it was a lot of our first jobs all together, while we were all still in our 20s. And Jay, all he wanted to do was sports, and like he got his sports talk show and it was like a big deal. And so, and I'm still friends with all of those people. And it was the office of craziness and wacky things happening. Like one meeting, our senior producer handed out 40s of malt liquor to everybody. And we had to drink them during the pitch meeting. And I couldn't even get through mine. I'm like, I'm going to throw up. And then another time, Ralphie May came out naked on the stage in front of the whole audience and streaked the whole audience and just walked around with a cape on and big glasses. And they ended up putting it on the show. I mean, they blurred him out, whatever. But like things like just really crazy, funny things would happen. Like weird, like we would just have random people in the office, and like Slayer played on our show. And it was like a big deal for the studio because they brought in their own sound
Gear.
and their amp. Yeah, and they had a wall. You know, they have the wall of amplifiers, and they put it up in the studio. And I guess there was this whole thing about how are they going to pull it off and whatever. And it worked, but I remember it took all day. And I don't know. I mean, I'm so bad at this.
There's
what's funny to me are the nightmares. What's funny to me are the things where it falls apart, where everything falls apart.
And that's where the jokes come from.
Yeah, I mean, on the Dee Snider roast, Lita Ford got up in the middle of the show and left.
Oh, yeah.
Locked herself in the bathroom. And it was so awful. I felt so bad for her. She was so sweet. And then someone made a joke, and I think it hurt her feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And so she got upset, and she was in the bathroom. So in the middle of a live broadcast, Scott Ian's banging on the bathroom door, like trying to talk her down and get her to come back out on the stage. And she did. She did come back out. But I think that was the one time I almost fainted at work. I remember standing there with my book, and Lita left, and I was like, oh wow. I thought I was going to faint because I was her point person. I was like, oh my God, can't let anything happen to her.
Of course,
like,
of course.
You know,
so like, Courtney, let's if you don't mind, let's
talk about something interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
No. I'm saying, I would like you to touch on Kruise Fest. Okay, so basically, your show will set up. We'll set the stage for the rest of the event. So what are your thoughts about the Kruise Fest event as a whole? So what's your opinion on the concept and, getting all the Kiss fans together before they get on the cruise? So what do you think?
Well, of course, I think it's fabulous because that's what this whole world is about that I've learned since I started coming into it full steam in 2013. That was my first Kiss cruise. I just love this world of people. Like I told Chris Sinzak, I'm like, this is the planet I think that I'm from, and now I'm finally home. Like I just feel so at home and so comfortable around everybody in this world. And it's like I've been searching for you. Yeah. Like here you are. And I think that that's what the Cruise Fest is about, is just getting all those people in one spot. Because on the cruise, you have it, but there's so much going on that it's like you're running around like a maniac, and it's, it's kind of hard. But this is like, it's a get together, it's a group, it's a hang. I was saying, like, it's almost like a class reunion, like all those friends you have that, from the concerts and the events over the years, and you get together, every couple of years at these events. And it's like, I mean, that's really what it's about. It's the people. And it just happens to be a beautiful venue, and we hopefully will kick things off like with some fun and some laughs and all inside jokes just for our world, and regular comedy. We'll also do our acts, so we're not just like all, talking about songs from The Elder and Vinnie Vincent's box sets. We're gonna have to talk about other things.
Right.
So we're gonna have to talk about other stuff, but that's what the show is going to be. I mean, it's not making fun of people. It's not a roast. It's, we're not, and that's one thing I like about the Kiss crowds and like the Expo crowds. Everybody's so polite. No one ever like gets drunk and yells stupid shit.
Yeah.
Throws stuff. It's like, it's not a regular comedy club crowd. It's like you're performing at somebody's house with your friends. That's what it feels like. So that's why we go the extra mile. Like we work extra hard on this show because we care, but we also like, we know who's out there, and we know like, what's going to be the most fun way to entertain you guys, like what's going to be the best way, not to just get up, and talk about orange juice. So I think that's, I guess what I get from it is that it's a safe place. It's a happy place. We've got DJ Noise. He's the best.
Yeah. And
he's going to get us all happy and warm and in the mood. We're going to have some drinks, and then we're going to have some laughs. And then we're going to stay up till 3 a.m. giggling.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Like school kids, like having a slumber party, like with everyone in one hotel. It's like a dorm.
Yeah.
And
it is true. That's a beautiful summary. That's exactly what it's going to be. That's going to be awesome.
That's true.
Day one, I can't wait, just to see you on stage and, having fun and chit chatting. And then we have day 2 with the lineup, with the bands. So what do you think about the musical lineup for
super
day 2?
excited.
That's gonna
I'm
be
super jazzed.
super.
Oh my God. I love Slaughter. I talk about Mark Slaughter way more than a person without a restraining order should. I have no idea why they haven't asked me to just kindly take it down a notch. No, I love Slaughter. They put on such a great show, and the lineup is hot as ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Iron Maidens are coming, and I just can't think of anything cooler. I just love that, not just because they're all girls, but they're all girls who are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not like the biggest Iron Maiden fan, but I actually like Iron Maiden better.
Iron Maidens, yeah. Yeah.
I do. I actually prefer them. I prefer the songs that way. Yeah, I know we got Dressed to Kill, and I mean, and then there's the Van Halen band.
Yeah, Fair Warning.
Yeah.
Fair Warning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of music.
Yeah.
We're going to be there for 9 hours.
Yeah. Super cool.
But it'll be great. It's a great warm up, for the ship. I mean,
so Courtney, you work with so many, different rock, rock scenes and then rock stars and stuff. But what's so special about Kiss fans? What do you think it's so special about Kiss fans? You're one of them. So you might know why. What's your overall impression of Kiss fans?
One thing I noticed from Kiss fans is that they all have a similar story, like the really hardcore ones. And it's always like, I remember the first time I saw Kiss. I was 5 years old. I was 7 years old. I was 10 years old. My older brother, my older sister, my dad, my mom, they were kids, like little kids. I was a little kid the first time I saw Kiss. And it seems like they were larger than life, not to make a Kiss joke, but like they are larger than life. And as a little kid, they seem like they're not human. They seem like these real superhero creatures. And oh my God, this music's cool too. Yeah. And I feel like there's this thing where it's like, once you're kind of in as a kid, it's like, it's almost like a first love. You cherish it. Yeah. And then as you grow up into an adult and you kind of grow with it, or some of you guys, were of the proper age when Kiss came out where you could just dive right in. I feel like it's like you grew up together and it's like a family. Yeah. And there's so much respect for each other. I'd say for the most part, there's a lot of like silly bickering, but that's what siblings do. Mm-hmm. And it's all over silly things. None of it's really going to change the world.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Like,
Right.
No one's going to hurt anybody's feelings, whatever. You never hear of like the two Kiss fans that got in a big fucking fist fight on the deck on Kiss Cruise 9. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't hear about that kind of stuff, and it's like, even if you don't know each other by, in person, it's like you're Facebook friends and you walk up to each other like, hey, we're friends on Facebook, and hey, it's good to meet you, and hey, I know you from the such and such show. And it's like, it's such a fun, safe, happy environment that like, I think a lot of people, the older Kiss fans, felt like outcasts in their day for liking Kiss.
Yeah.
And now
tribe.
Here's the safe place where we can all like Kiss. Yeah. Some of us a little more than others. Mm-hmm. And but I mean, that's what I get from it. I get from it like the group of friends that I had in high school, and now there's a whole bunch of adults just like them. Mm-hmm. Like, that's right. And I like that.
It's kind of innocent, I don't know. I got that feeling, it's we're like kids again, when we get together, who cares, no age. It's all a Kiss word, it's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. So Courtney, one last question before we unfortunately have to wrap up the show. But by the time we air this episode, it'll be about a week and a half. And I'm hoping by then there won't be any fans on the fence about going to Kruise Fest. I'm hoping we get such a huge turnout and people know that this is going to be such an amazing experience if you're a music fan, if you're a Kiss fan. But it's maybe possible that some people might be on the fence. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. So if I were to put a camera in front of you and ask you to do a public service announcement promoting Kruise Fest, what would you tell the fans about this event?
Okay, Kiss fans, let's face it. There's one thing that a lot of you have in common. You need a tan. And you're definitely going to need one before the cruise, or you're just going to need one before winter comes. So you're definitely going to want to come down to Cruise Fest to not only work on your tan, but work on your hang and your friendships. And there hasn't been anything in LA in a really long time. So people in LA, you have no excuse anymore. You're like, it's in Florida, it's in Nashville. Well, now it's here, and there's free parking. It's on the ocean, right? And we have DJ Noise, and we have Fraley's Comet doing meet and greets and a jam, right?
Yeah.
Aren't those guys going to be there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's super cool. And does Anton even go anywhere to any of these things? No, but he's coming to this.
Yeah.
He's coming to this. And and then the next night we've got like 52 bands all in one spot. So you don't have to run around and go from like this end of the ship to the other end of the ship and sprain your ankle and try to slam down a sundae and, you know, wait in the bar line for 45 minutes. No, it's in one place. And we're not young. And we need to sit. We need to sit.
And we're having you. We're having you in the show.
And I'll be there. And I'll be there hosting a show of great comedians. And we have a special surprise. We're still kind of playing around with it, but there is a Punchlines and Backlines twist to our show that I'm excited about. And I think it'll be very fun. We're going to do something very special and different just for the Cruise Fest.
There you
people.
go.
Like,
Nice.
we're not doing this again.
Special.
It's
It'll
a
be
little
awesome.
I've been working on it, and I'm never going to do it again, but I'm doing it for you guys.
Wow.
Because I think that this would be this is the only place to really do this. So
So
I think it'll
awesome.
be appropriate. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's all your friends. I mean, the shows are going to be great. There's no reason not to go. There's no
Exactly.
reason not to go. Just
You
come.
got
I
it.
mean, even if you're not going on the cruise, just come and hang.
Yeah, you got to be there. You got to be there. So, Courtney, again, we're so happy to have you, and thanks, for your time and being part of the show. This has been a really fun and entertaining discussion. I love you so much. So we can wait to see you at the Cruise Fest, and then hang around and have a couple of drinks and chit chat. So it's been a real pleasure, to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just realized the whole time my little box said Stefan because I'm on my husband's computer.
It's not a problem.
It's really me. Okay.
No, Courtney, when you described Kiss fans, I think it was one of the best, most succinct description of Kiss fans I've heard in a very long time. I don't know if you're aware, but we do something called fan profiles on the Kiss Army Nation podcast, and you described those fans exactly. It's as kids, we were just mesmerized by the band, these larger than life figures, and that's what brought us together as a community. And music and comedy is what really brings people together. And speaking on behalf of myself, Claudio, the Kiss Army, the Kiss Navy, we really want to thank you for bringing Punchlines to Cruise Fest, because what you're doing is not only, bringing us together, fans together, but you're doing something specifically for the fans. And as Kiss fans, we really, really appreciate the work that you put into that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's fun. You're the best crowds. The best.
Thank you. So once again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, guys. It was so nice seeing you.
Thank you. So
Nice seeing you.
See you in a couple weeks.
You got it. Can't wait. To the Kiss Army. If you want more information on Cruise Fest, please go to cruisefest.com. That's Cruise Fest with a K. Hope to see you at this event. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube, or follow us on Spotify, Automatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, Kiss Army.